I have only good things to talk about my journey with EPAT, right? Uh, One thing is I really like the support system, right? You have a dedicated support manager for you, and you need any sort of help. Uh, Folks are just a call away or they are a WhatsApp message away. And the response rates are like amazing. I've done other courses, I told you, right? Probably your competitors earlier with data science and other certifications. This journey was special because of this reason. Because you need any kind of help, you have people backing you up straight away. Okay, so that definitely stood out for me, right? And kudos to your team. So I'm Mayur Patil. I'm originally from Chennai. I did my BTech followed by an MS in Pune. And since 2005, I have been working in the IT industry, cutting across IT services and product-oriented organizations, right? And yeah, ever since I started my career, I have been based out of Bangalore. But yeah, all thanks to the pandemic, I have been working remotely from Chennai again for almost the last couple of years. That's how my professional journey has been. Currently, I'm associated with a startup called Whatfix, and I've been working here for the last, I would say, close to 1.5 years as a delivery manager. And yes, EPAT happened last year, starting I think around July 2020 is when I started my course and went on until the year end. I pursue an array of hobbies, but a couple of things which really stand out are listening to music, cutting across various genres, again, cutting across languages also, I would say. I think that's my favorite pastime whenever I get time, primarily over the weekends. And the other piece would be reading books. Again, all thanks to the pandemic, I think I've got a lot of time on my hands. And this year I've been busy devouring as many books as possible, primarily. I mean, book cutting across, again, genres like fiction and non-fiction and things like that. So yeah, these two would definitely stand out if you're asking me about my core hobbies. So just to give some background on my qualifications, yes, I have done BTech in Information Technology. Almost like 1.5 decades back is when was when I graduated, followed by an MS degree in Advanced Information Technology that came out of an institute called IIIT in based of Pune. After which I have pretty much been in the IT industry. Apart from that, yes, a couple. I would say it's a very strange sequence of events which actually triggered this whole decision of mine to take the plunge into algorithmic trading, right? So what happened is, I mean, I'll narrate it like a story. So I tell you what happened in 2019, and then maybe you can definitely, you can go ahead and connect the dots. So 2019
Absolutely.
was when I was associated with my penultimate organization. If you look at my CV, it's an organization called Akamai Technologies, which I had joined in 2012. So there I was working as a practice manager, and a couple of things happened sometime during mid 2019, right? One is there was this sudden urge in me to experiment a bit. I was just getting slightly plateaued in my career, and I thought, okay, let me just experiment and explore other opportunities. What else is there beyond this whole circle of things, role and responsibilities, which I've been gotten so used to over the last few years, right? That's when data science happened. Okay, and I ended up doing a certification in data science, right? And that actually concluded sometime in the first quarter of 2020. Okay, it was again a 6 to 7 month course, and it got over, and it looked pretty fascinating. An array of interesting topics covered, and I thought, okay, let me try to pursue this and see how this goes. And coincidentally, around the same time, starting December 2019, I had consciously chosen to take a break in my career. Again, for the same reason, just this urge to experiment and see what else is happening in the world, and just be open about things, right? And around the same time, I mean, all thanks to one of my cousins based in Chennai, when I was in Chennai around that time, I got introduced to stock market, or rather investing in stocks, right? And I also got briefly introduced to the whole concept of futures and options and a whole bunch of things, right? Until then, honestly, until 2019, I would say my investment in stocks was very like ad hoc, just going by random recommendations which come in from a whole bunch of people, or your brokers and things like that, right? And primarily, it has been into mutual funds, which is anyway a safe bet as far as investment is concerned. Now, first quarter of 2020 was when I actually knew that it's an ocean, right? It's a universe. There's so many variables at play, so many things happening out there, and definitely it's not as easy as just taking a random decision, going by recommendations and investing into a stock. It's a science in itself, right? And that's when I got interested into reading the technical charts. And again, the bigger problem now is you are overwhelmed with so much of data online, so many YouTube videos, so many people who call themselves experts and all of that, right? So I tried again. I took a plunge, and I would say, I made a decent amount of money just because I got lucky. I invested into a whole bunch of stocks during March 2020, which was the right time to get into the market. But I would say I got lucky. But after that, yeah, I burned my fingers and I lost a bit of money when I was playing around with FNO as well. That's when I think I thought that these decisions need to be highly calculated and these need to be informed decisions. And that's how EPAT happened. I mean, one random day, I think I was reading a whole bunch of, I'm pretty active on the Quora platform. That's where I ran into, a whole bunch of things about EPAT. I got to know that there is something called EPAT, there is something called algorithmic trading in the first place, which I was not even aware. And that got me thinking. The reason being, here is something, a course which I can pursue, wherein I can leverage my experience as a techie. Well, honestly, it was more than a decade since I had lost touch with my coding. So I thought, yeah, probably this is an opportunity for me to again, revisit those coding days, which I used to like long back. I definitely can leverage my tech background, as well as this whole inclination towards playing around with stocks, futures, options, and all of that. That got me, in parallel, I was reading a whole bunch of knowledge articles, I think by Zerodha online, and those are pretty good. So there was this potent combination of these two factors, right? One is me leveraging my technical background, and also in the process, actually making sure that I'm doing what I'm liking right now. I became very passionate about this whole thing, about investments and all of that. And here was a platform which came, on a platter to me, I would say. And I thought, okay, let me just explore. So I came with no motivation as such, but it's just like I mentioned, right? It was a few random sequence of events which happened around the same time, got me thinking. And I thought, okay, let me take the plunge. Any which ways I had taken a short break in my career, right? And that's how EPAT happened. And yeah, I ended up wrapping up the course in the next 6-7 months, and I'm glad to say I really had a pleasant experience. I was doing trading. Again, I would say it was very ad hoc, right? And in 2020, during the first quarter, when I really had a lot of time in my hands, all the time, like under the influence of my cousin, right, I started consuming a lot of YouTube videos and started to learn the tricks and tips and tricks of what's the right thing to do, studying technical charts and all that. So basically, I was already trading even before I got into the EPAT community. That's the fact, right? But yeah, only it was primarily based on the decision making was primarily based on technical charts, I would say, and nothing beyond that. I think again here, honestly, credits go to the really amazing faculty I think EPAT has, right? Cutting across various subjects, diverse subjects which we cover. So I think that made the whole journey a bit more easier, and I just became more and more confident, I would say, week on week after consuming all of this content, right? All of these courses. Yes, I think initially I found it a bit difficult. Like I mentioned, right, it was a good 10-year break I had taken since I had actually even done some basic coding. So it did take me some time, but again, the way that your curriculum is structured is you assume that your audience comes with no background at all. So a couple of things here, right? One is even before the course kickstarted, I believe there was this kind of a refresher session wherein there are these basics of finance, basics of Python, and a whole bunch of topics which you expect the audience to actually wrap up even before you jump into the course. So that really helped. Okay, that actually is essential in building your initial level of confidence. And after that, like I mentioned earlier, kudos to the faculty you have. I think that makes your journey much, much more easier and comfortable, right? And and the other aspect which I want to talk about is the diverse audience which you attract, right? I think it was almost 80, 90 folks in my batch, all coming from different backgrounds, but diverse backgrounds. And what I realized is there is nothing called a silly question, right? So everyone used to go berserk during the end of the sessions, and the lecturers were really patient enough to answer each and every query, which came their way. And I can say that with confidence because I come from a tech background, but a whole bunch of other folks, they were not coming from a tech background at all. But still, I think your faculty do go out of their way, and sometimes you used to run out of time, right? In that case, I believe they used to go ahead and actually schedule separate one-on-one sessions with them to make sure that the topics covered are done and dusted, and the audience is completely up to speed with the areas you wanted to cover week on week. So I think definitely this helped. So EPAT, again, we cover a whole bunch of topics, right? I mean, a lot of them, and you actually end up deep diving into each one of those. I think personally what I feel is once you wrap up the course, as an individual, it's up to us, right? And in my case, it was up to me to decide, okay, which area I want to specialize and how do I make sure that I have got my ROI after completing the course. And it's going to be completely unique and different for every individual, right? In my case, I think I hinted at this earlier, I have started taking more informed decisions and more calculative decisions, even if it is just 1,000 rupees I'm investing on a stock, right? So I'm able to leverage that knowledge I have consumed, I have gained during my journey at EPAT, right? I would say that's a big win for me compared to where I was maybe a year back. I really enjoyed getting back to coding and, coding in Python. So Python was a new territory for me because 10, 12 years back, I was more into .NET, Java, and other programming languages. And I realized what I've been missing all along. I really enjoyed the journey of, coding on Python and making things happen, basically, right? By leveraging all the tools which we were given access to. So in a way, I think that was the biggest takeaway for me. That sheer excitement, right, of revisiting your coding days and seeing this whole thing actually solving a real life problem for you. I mean, seeing that in action was a different feeling for me. And I think that happened because of EPAT. So I think it might sound silly, but that would be the big takeaway for me. As retail investors, everything is so easy. At the click of a button, you can actually go ahead, do anything you want, invest into any of these sources you have online. And the bigger problem here is the overdose of information you have online. Just a search on Google, you can see tons and tons of materials, or YouTube, you have so many videos, so many Gyan gurus out there trying to preach a lot of things based on their own experiences and all of that. So that makes the whole thing a bit more difficult, right? And I think that's where EPAT actually comes to, a course like EPAT comes to your rescue because things are extremely structured over here, right? The faculty clearly kind of guide you. Okay, these are the key things which are essential for you to grow as a trader or investor or whatever it is. And so basically they kind of course correct you, right? And they guide you to look at the right places. Otherwise, there is absolutely no end in this world, right? I mean, there's just so much. Every individual, I'm sure, is so overwhelmed with the amount of videos and the data they have online. So people can go mad. So that's where I think something like EPAT is necessary to keep you sane and to make sure that things are structured and you take informed decisions. I have only good things to talk about my journey with EPAT, right? One thing is I really like the support system, right? You have a dedicated support manager for you, and you need any sort of help. Folks are just a call away or they are a WhatsApp message away. And the response rates are like amazing. I've done other courses, I told you, right? Probably your competitors earlier with data science and other certifications. This journey was special because of this reason. Because you need any kind of help, you have people backing you up straight away. Okay, so that definitely stood out for me, right? And kudos to your team. And the other aspect I would say was, I think this whole concept of you being a lifetime alumni member, right? Once you sign up for the EPAT certification, and the very fact that even today or even after 10 years, if I log into the EPAT community, I have access to the latest and greatest, all the latest data. And this is a very dynamic field we're talking about, right? Algorithmic trading. Things change overnight. Things change every hour, probably. There are massive developments going on globally. So the very fact that even after 10 years or a couple of decades, I will be having access to the latest course curriculum, whatever EPAT is offering, I think that in itself is that sounds amazing. And that was one of the USPs I saw even before I signed up for the whole course, right? And maybe down the line, if I am really keen to switch my careers and do something hardcore in algorithmic training as a profession, yes, that option is still open. So these things I definitely wanted to call out, and these are some of your biggest USPs, I would say. I mean, algorithmic trading is, I think, it's still a very, it's in its very niche stages, right? Though there are a few experts, hardcore into this field across our country, but still, like you rightly pointed out, that awareness is still not there, right? There would be a whole bunch of people who would be surprised. Okay, is it that big? Is algorithmic trading that really big? I mean, in our country. But that's the case, right? Over the last, I think, few years, it's really evolved. So on that note, I think it's definitely worth experimenting. I took the plunge, and I have been able to make the most out of it. And since you already are aware of my background, I mean, I had nothing to do with finance at all. If you look at my graduation, post graduation, and my whole career as such. But somehow I ended up taking the plunge. I kind of, took a gamble, which I can confidently say is kind of paying off and would pay off in the future as well. It just depends on the kind of decisions I take, right? If like I mentioned a few minutes back, down the line, I think if I really want to pursue something on the lines of, into finance domain, or do something hardcore on algorithmic training, that option, EPAT still gives me that option, which I can play around with down the line. So on that note, I think it's worth giving a shot. I mean, that's what I would call out very loud and clearly to all of the aspiring EPATians. And also, Viraj, I think in my case, right, it was not just the Quora articles. I actually went through a whole bunch of blogs which you had published back then on your platform. It was the same thing. It's like life coming a full circle, right? Wherein I had read a whole bunch of EPATians coming from a background like me, having no idea about finance, and talking about their amazing experiences they've had with EPAT and the key learnings over there. So right now, I think it's for me. I'm just giving it back to the community, and I'm doing the same. So it feels a bit awkward, but yeah, hopefully this just works, and the aspiring EPATians do end up taking the plunge and try to make the most of this course if they indeed opt for this.